My Making Adventure. This is a video podcast where I like to share all the crafty things that I've been up to lately. I live in the rural Midwest with my husband and our 3 daughters, and we got some ice last night, so everybody's home this morning with me. So you may hear some noise in the background. Hopefully you can still hear me well enough. Today is Thursday, February 6th, 2025, and this is a traditional project update video, and I will start with what I'm wearing because I'm really excited to have a new finished object to show you. This is the Felix cardigan, which is a pattern by Christoffers, and this is the second time I've knit this. The first time I followed it to pattern, and I made, I think, the 52.5 inch bust size. This time, instead of doing the lacy raglan increases, I just did regular make one increases, and I knit one size smaller, which is a 48 inch bust circumference. I use Fleischer's Superior Knitting wool. However, I only had 8 ounces of that, and so when I ran out of that yarn, I held some just black DK with some black fingering weight double, and I did that at the bottom of the body and for the sleeves and for all of the ribbing. I had 2 balls of black DK that we had dyed ourselves. Like we over dyed different colors that we didn't like. However, they ended up not being the same color. So I had a little bit of an issue that I shared last time. I cast on the second sleeve and it was very different color than the other yarn I had been using. When I put in my first ball of DK weight, that's in the body, and I don't think that you see any color change between the Fleischer's wool and the body of the sweater until you get to the ribbing. So I had cast on the second sleeve with this new ball and seen that the colors were not going to meld very well. So I was debating what to do, and I ended up choosing to rip out the bottom hem ribbing and the first sleeve ribbing and use that yarn to knit the second sleeve. And I actually kind of was like ripping back the first sleeve at the same time as I was knitting the end of the second sleeve, like still connected, so that I could get the sleeves to the same point with the same yarn. And then I finished the cuffs and the ribbing with the new ball, which is a little bit of a different shade of black. It's not as true of a black. And then I did the button band with that other ball as well. I think most people aren't going to look at it and say, why is Catherine's sweater multiple different shades of black? So I think we'll be okay. It was just like one of those projects where I was trying to use up yarn that I had, use a pattern I'd already knit to make it fit me a way I liked better. So like learning about making garments that fit me better. So I already had the pattern because I'd already made it once. I already had the yarn, and I didn't have, it was like different amounts, not a garment's quantity in any of the amounts I knit with. And I used buttons that I just like had. They don't match. They either like came as extras for different shirts over time, or they fell off of things and I just put them in my sewing stuff. So this one I know I bought, and it came with 2, and I put one on my daughter's sweater. Like she had lost a button on one of her sweaters, and I used this to replace it. So none of my buttons match. My yarn doesn't match. I didn't quite follow the pattern, but all of this stuff was stuff I had on hand. So I think in knitting math, that means it's a free sweater. So now I have a free black cardigan, and I'm really pleased with how it turned out. I was doing this as a part of the Finish at 9 make along hosted by Rose Opal Knits, and this is 3 of my 5 things. So I had 5 projects carry over from 2024 to 2025, and this is the 3rd one of those 5 projects that I have finished. It is pilling already. I think that is both the DK yarn that we had which I think was a BFL. And the Fleischer's knitting wool is all pilling. I blocked it before I put the buttons on. It's also collecting hair, as black things seem to do. One more silly thing, and then I'll give you the measurements. When I was filming my latest video, which is like everything I knit in 2024, as I was preparing for that, I realized I knit myself 2 things in 2024. The whole year, I knit 21 things, but only 2 of them were for me. One was a pair of socks, and the second was a Felix cardigan. So now it's the very beginning of February in 2025, and I have knit 2 things for myself. And the first was a pair of socks, and the second is a Felix cardigan. So I thought that was pretty entertaining. I did also knit myself a hot water bottle cover, which I'll share with you in a little bit. And that's definitely for me, but 2 things for me to wear, I guess. So I did lay this out buttoned and measured, and it has a final bust circumference of 47.5 inches, which for a 48-inch was what the pattern said. I didn't gauge swatch or anything. I changed yarn throughout it. That seems pretty good to me. The length from the back, the top of the back collar, all the way to the back bottom is 25 inches. The armhole depth is about 8 inches. And from the sleeve, underarm to the end of the cuff is 15 inches. The body length from the underarm to the bottom of the ribbing is a little more than 13 inches. This is shorter than I like most things to be, but it's not like too short for me. It will work well as a cardigan over with dresses or t-shirts or whatever. So I'm very pleased with it for being a free project to me. So yeah, you'll see me wearing this, and I'll get to add this to my cardigan rotation with my other Felix cardigan. And I only have one other sweater that I knit for myself, and that's a ranunculus. So I'm really looking forward to making myself something else soon. All right, let's talk about finished objects. I have several finished objects to share with you. I did finish like the biggest project on my needles, which was the cardigan. So then I have lots of different things to share with you because I've been doing lots of little projects. The first thing I finished was a hot water bottle cover, and I followed a pattern by Christina Birk Sorensen, and it was a free pattern for sport weight yarn, and I found it worked perfectly. I did stripe in yarn that I had received as a gift from Amy of Noble Character Crafts, or a prize for the Make 9 2024 make along. And it was a mini skein set from Wonderland Yarns, and there, I think Mad Hatter is the base, and it had these 5 beautiful colors in it. It's super soft, stretchy, and squishy, and it is a sport weight. So I used US 4 needles as per the pattern, which is a 3.5 millimeter needle, and I just chose stripes. The pattern had color work in it, and I didn't really feel like I had the bandwidth for another color work project at that point. So I did stripes to use all 5 of the mini skeins, and I followed the pattern all the way, and it works perfectly, and we've been enjoying using it. Yeah. I think I did knit the collar, the cuff of it a little bit longer so that I could hide all of my hot water bottle inside of it, but it's been getting good use, and I think it's really beautiful also. So the next thing that I finished is also striped, and that is this hat I knit for my 5-year-old. This is, I should put it on, Pearl Soho classic ribbed hat, which is a pattern, it says by Jake Canton. It calls for DK weight, the pattern, and I used Cascade 220 Superwash, which is a worsted weight, And so instead of using the US 3 needle that it calls for, I use the US 5, 3.75 millimeter needle. And I sized down and knit my daughter the baby size of the hat. Each of these stripes took 3 grams of yarn, so 6 grams of each color. And the navy, the main color, I think used about 37 grams of yarn. It is super cute, and it even fits me. It fits her fine. She loves it so much. See? I can even fit in. So it stretches so much that I'm sure that it is large enough for her for a few years. And she loves it so much, she even slept in it a couple nights, I think. These 2 striped projects I added to Wyoming Knits, Jenny Lee's Make Along, which is a scrappy year-long make along. And so that was fun to be able to add to that make along as well. Any more notes on that hat? I am going to make another one soon. I also knit my 3-year-old some mittens. And these follow the World's Simplest Mittens pattern by Tin Can Knits. And this yarn my husband and I dyed. It's the same base as the yarn that I put into my Felix sweater, that BFL non-super wash. She really wanted purple, and we had 1 skein of that left, so we dyed it up for her. And I think the purple turned out absolutely gorgeous. It's just so bright. I knit, I think they call it the toddler size. Hold on. No, I don't think I have the pattern up here. But I knit it, it's the smallest size for DK weight yarn is what I did. I think it's called toddler or something. I use US 5 3.75 millimeter needles. Did I say the pattern's by Tin Can Knits? It's a free pattern. So is this, and so is this. So all my finished objects are from free patterns. I did use half twisted rib instead of just a regular rib. I think it looks neater. Otherwise, I think I all the way followed the pattern. Oh, I do, when I always make this modification. When I knit this pattern, it tells you how many stitches to decrease to at the top of the mitten. And then I think you're supposed to like loop them through and pull it like a circle like you do for the thumb. But at the top of the hand, I used the Kitchener stitch to graft it together so that I like it when it lays a little bit flatter like that. So I think I omitted 1 decrease round so that I would have enough stitches to do that. But then the rest of it is to pattern, and it fits her really well. I do think she prefers right now to have the cuff folded. So when I attach them with an I-cord, I put the I-cord right there at that fold spot. I haven't woven in. I think I have 2 ends left to weave in from not doing the I-cord. So I put it there, which if she wants the cuff extended, she can still do that. That will still be fine, but it will be easier to have the cuff folded than if I had put the I-cord at the end of the cuff. So she's excited to wear those. She's already been wearing them around the house just for fun. I love that my girls are so excited when I knit for them because that makes it so much more joyful. I did cast these on Monday and I finished them yesterday. So it's like a 3-day project, including the I-cord and convincing a 3-year-old to try them on when they're not finished yet so that I could make sure they were fitting well. And those are all of my finished objects. And so yeah, that's all I have to say about my finished objects. I had to take my sweater off because it was a little warm in here, but our house doesn't heat evenly, so This part of the house is warm and the other part of the house is cold. We will move to works in progress now, starting with my oldest work in progress, which is a stocking. This pattern is by Annah Burns, and it's called Christmas Knits, or Silent Knits Christmas Stocking. And I've made, I think last time I was in the tree motif, I don't know how far, but I finished it. And I'm almost, yeah, I think I'm close to being ready to add in the heel. So last time I did a short row heel, and that was like one of my first times. So that will be like require a little bit more focus, but it's also a little bit more enjoyable because it's only one strand of yarn for the whole heel, and I'm getting tired of all of the color work. I think when I finish this, I'm probably going to pause long enough to finish my last, because this is also on my finish at 9, make along, finish it. I only had 5. This is the 4th thing I hope to finish, and then I'll probably finish the 5th thing before I pick up another stocking. But I am only working on it on Sundays, so it is taking a little bit longer to progress, but I'm not in a hurry because it's only February and I'm already working on something for December. I also cast on another hot water bottle cover, and this is using leftover DK Swish in the Pinecone Heather, which I have from a zipper sweater I finished in December. So I needed a different pattern because this is DK weight yarn, and I found one for free from Emily Bolduan, which is Maker. And I'm using US 6 4mm needles. I did modify the pattern slightly and cast on only 60 stitches. And then I did the amount of increases it called for. I tried it first as the pattern stated, and it just felt too big. I wanted to stretch to fit over the hot water bottle at least a little bit. And so I ripped out and did it again. I'm getting pretty good at Judy's Magic cast on, and I think it's so cool how it just looks so neat and tidy so quickly, and a regular cast on doesn't do that for me. So yeah, another hot water bottle cover. I'm going to gift this to a friend when I have it done, so I'm excited to be working on that. I still have this much of a partial skein that was left over from the sweater, and then I still have 200 grams, 4 balls, which is 50 grams per ball. And so I'm not sure how much this is going to use. I think it might use more than this, especially if I do the ribbing really long again, like I did on my first one. But I'm still going to have at least 150 grams of yarn. And so I might make some hats or something with it. This isn't like, not like enough to make a garment for me, maybe for one of my daughters. Like 200 grams really is only probably enough for the baby. So I don't know. I'll have to think about it. So another basically free project because I had this yarn and I got a free pattern. Same for the hat. I had the yarn and it was a free pattern. So we're just creating stuff out of nothing around here lately. I also, yeah, I think this is my last thing. On Monday, I cast on the mittens and the hot water bottle, but I needed something to knit before I had time that I could cast on something that needed a pattern. And so before I cast on either of those, I started a dishcloth. Itty bitty. I just needed something to work on really quickly in that moment when I didn't have energy for something new. And this is what I came up with. But I did take the needles out because I use US 3s for this, and I needed the 3s, I think, for the cuff of the mittens. And I think I'm going to use that purple yarn to cast on my daughter a classic ribbed hat, and that will need the 3s as well. So this dishcloth will probably be sitting on hold for a while. I did decide to try like an I-cord border on it instead of the lacy border that it normally calls for. I don't know if as a dishcloth that might be impractical, because it might mean that it like doesn't dry all the way in between use because of the thicker I-cord, but I'm just gonna try it because I think it might look nice. So we're just in the experimental phase at this point. And this is fingering weight cotton yarn from Hobie. I love it. I think it's cotton, their Cotton Kings line. Sometimes I've used a couple different ones of their fingering weight lines to make dishcloths, and I've been pleased with each and every one of them. So that's all I am currently working on, but I am planning on making a hat to match my daughter's mittens. Probably just do another classic ribbed hat because I know that the fit will work. She does want me to stripe in some green. She's quite opinionated, as 3-year-olds can be. And I have some green yarn. I didn't bring it up though. And it is just like kind of dark. And this is so heavy too that I feel like they need like kind of a neutral to offset them. So I'm working out what that might look like, and then I will probably cast that on later today so that I can get that ready for her. I also really need a new garment to be working on, a big long-term project, and I have some ideas, and I'm hoping to place a yarn order soon because I don't think I have quite the right thing for that. I do want to make myself another sweater, but I feel like it's kind of, by the time I would get yarn and finish a garment, it will be too warm to wear it. But I might do it anyway, because then when the fall comes, I'll just have it. So, but I also have some t-shirts in mind that I want to make. So I'm hoping to make the stripe pipe sweater would be my next sweater cast on. I'm hoping to make, and that stripe pipe is by Kutubakika, I think is her maker name, designer name. And then I want to make the Market Henley by Claire Jackson of Perfectly Knotted. And I also have been thinking about making the Color Tip Tee by Emily Curtis. I actually switched one of my plans to that, I think. So I'm kind of just toying around to make sure I get like the right yarn for each of those projects. And those are the things that I hope to be making soon. I also have lots of socks I can cast on. So those are my future plans as well. And I think I will share just a little life update. I have been reading All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. I did get it from the library. I haven't progressed it very much. I do find it hard to read at times, and so I'm kind of slow going. I also read the book The Railway Children by Edith Nesbit. This was recommended as part of the, I don't remember the name of it, Fancy Needlecrafts and Book Club or something like that, which is hosted by Emily of Woldenburn and Stephanie of Texas Peach Knits, and I think Molly of Mystery Mouse Club Yarns. So we were reading that book for February, and I've already finished it. It was a good, heartwarming story, fun. And then I was looking for something, because I can read All the Light We Cannot See, but I have the physical book. So I also like to have a book I can read on my phone. I was looking for one that was available now from my library, and I found Maybe You Should Talk to Someone by Lori Gottlieb. And I'm in the middle of that, but it's kind of a fun, it's like a autobiographical account of a therapist, and kind of also with the like the overarching idea of like, what does going to therapy look like? How can it help people? What are some of the hang-ups or hard parts or, you know, intricacies of it that regular people maybe wouldn't see? So I'm finding it quite enjoyable just because it has lots of little story blurbs of both her life and other people's lives. And I like that personal perspective on it. We've been eating a lot of sourdough. My sourdough routine has been going well. And then Stephanie recommended I add cookies. So we actually did make cookie dough last week, but I froze the cookie dough balls and we only baked 8 of them. So I still have cookie dough in the freezer, so I don't think I'm gonna make any more this week. I also ended up making discard crackers. But those, I don't think I baked them long enough. I was worried about burning them and I think I underbaked them, but they also were just like not overall a flavor hit in our family. I had thought next time, maybe if I did like a Parmesan garlic, that might be something that people enjoy. We also opened some applesauce, like a whole jar of applesauce, and didn't actually open 2, but we had extra applesauce from the jar. And if I'm not intentional about it, it will go bad in the fridge. Everybody likes it, but if I'm not intentional about it, I'll forget about it. So I decided to make up some applesauce bread with it, and that was pretty good. It was better the first day. It wasn't like necessarily the best leftovers, but it was pretty good. And we've been working really hard to use up some of our garden things in our baking. So carrots and potatoes, sweet potatoes, squash, garlic. We have all of these things from our garden still, and we need to use them up soon or they'll go bad, especially as the weather starts to warm up. Our storage will not stay as cool for them. So, and like some of them were not like ideal storage varieties, so they definitely need used up. So we made like a hash with butternut squash. We made sweet potato fries. I've been using carrots and potatoes and garlic in soup. So yeah, we are just doing our best to use up all of that stuff. I do think that I probably should get some, like do some mass food preservation days to get those like into the freezer or into cans. But there just isn't a lot of space in my days right now for that. So we're not stressing about it. We're just trying to use them up. We did just over a week ago go to the zoo with some friends, and that was just a really good time. We love going to the zoo, but taking 3 children 5 and under is a little bit tricky. Even my husband always goes with us, so even with 2 adults. But this time our friends came along, and so there's 1 more adult, plus the kids are older than our kids, so they are super helpful, and it does make everything just a little bit easier. So we had a really good time. And we saw so much more than we normally see when we go to the zoo, because the zoo is so big we can't ever see it all. But because we had more people and they don't go as often as us, it is more important to them to see some of the stuff that's further away. And we made that, we made that trip with them to those things that are harder to see, like the lions and the tigers. We started our lettuce seeds, which is really exciting because we're doing a lot of our garden planning. And so getting seeds started makes it feel so much more real than just the planning stages. And as I mentioned at the beginning, we did receive a little bit of ice. So last night and this morning, everybody's just staying in. It's quiet outside. There's hardly anybody. We live in town on a pretty main road, and so our I don't know what to call it. We hear the traffic going by when most days, and so we notice when it's quiet, and that's really, I don't know, it's kind of peaceful today. So I think that's about all I have for you today. Thank you for joining me for my making adventure. Until next time, God bless.